KMSU.
How you doing, this Robert Randolph?
Robert, this is Dustin. How you doing today?
Not too bad.
Excellent. Is it okay to ask you a few questions?
Yeah, awesome.
All right, well, first of all, I'll introduce you to my co-host, Ton.
How you doing?
Not too bad. How's it going?
It's good, man. We're glad to have you on the line. This is very exciting to be talking to you today.
Yeah, it's going to be, looking forward to it.
Beautiful. We'll go ahead and get started. You know, with you, it's a pretty interesting thing. I mean, first of all, I will say you're a pedal steel player, and you're probably one of the greatest I've ever heard. It's pretty amazing how you play that thing. How did you get started playing music, and how did you end up gravitating towards that instrument?
Well, for me, you know, it's I grew up playing music in church as a kid. You know, started out playing the drums, and you know, everybody knows I come from Pentecostal church. You kind of start picking up stuff, but our church was really where I come from. It's sort of this Pentecostal organization that the church was basically ever since the 1940s. The tradition was guys playing lap steels that evolved into pedal steels, sort of like the Buena Vista Social Club of a certain time, of that time. So our church was always built on all of my sort of pedal steel, lap steel forefathers I grew up watching play pedal steel. So for me, those are like my Muddy Waters and my Albert Kings and Stevie Rays and B.B. Kings, and I always wanted to be like those guys. So that's really, and some of those guys have actually kind of gotten out and started playing. You know, you got Calvin Cook and Aubrey Gent and the Campbell Brothers and some of these other guys that we all sort of come from. We all come from the same church organization. Some of the older guys died some years ago, so you know their sound and their great musical styles only can be heard on some of these old church videotapes that we have. So it's kind of one of those things.
Well, and we know the family band actually is made up of some family members. We assume that must give you, kind of a connection that maybe other bands might not have, playing with your family members?
Yeah. I mean, that's really what, kind of what we do. You know, growing up at church, you know, we were all it was always that thing that we would do, as a family, cousins, brothers, sisters. And, I got a big family. A big musical family, a bunch of singers, a bunch of wannabe musicians. And, but we all grew up in church playing music, so I kind of got, all of us sort of radical cousins, and my sister travels with us sometimes, and she sings and writes some of the songs too, and it's really great to kind of have all. It makes it easier, because when you get mad, it's easy to deal with the problem and then just move on.
Yeah, I bet. Now, has it always been the same family members in the band? Has there been any rotation? And also, have you had any outsiders playing with you and the family members?
Yeah, over the years we've had different family members come in and out. We've also had other guest guys from other bands. I mean, there's a songwriter named Neil Casale. He started playing with us at the beginning as well, and another organ player, John McGinty, and then another organ player, Jason Crosby, and then John Medeski, the famous keyboard, piano, organ player. He's played with us, from time to time, and we've had a lot of those guys come and sit in. Eric Gales has played guitar with us for some tours on an electric guitar, and yeah, I mean, it's always been that. That was sort of the idea of me sort of having, really calling it Robert Randolph and a family band, because I knew over time, a lot of my family members would want to come in and do some tours and stuff. So that's really what sort of the brand of it all is. It's kind of, guys get angry and I send them home.
Yeah, that's cool that you're open to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, well, I mean, our family, we have a huge music family. I mean, a bunch of singers, not that many musicians. Everybody's like singers and songwriters and producers and whatnot. So, but it's huge, growing up in church, our great-grandfather, he had 13 kids. So, and then my grandmother herself, she had 12. So, I mean, that's a lot of cousins. a lot of singing musician cousins, man, so everybody's all been spread out all over the U.S. now. We run them all through them doing tours, and they come in and take our equipment and take all our stuff. But, it's fun, to be able to have that.
Yeah, very cool. So, you say you grew up playing in church and that sort of thing and playing with the family. At what point or how did it kind of make that transition into touring and making albums and I guess doing something bigger on the social level?
Well, for us, it was at the beginning, it was, I would say it's funny at the very beginning when it's all happening, you really don't know what's really going on. You're just like, oh, wow, somebody's going to pay us to do this. Oh, wow, okay, this record company is going to pay us to make music. And you kind of all going and you partying and you hanging and you just making music. And then all of a sudden it sort of kicks in. It's like, wait a second, we actually going to be doing this for a while. So let's, let's get it together. Let's back up. So you kind of, you develop, I mean, it's great. It's that we all sort of realize it, but it's really sort of the same story that everybody else has had. I mean, I talked to Eric Clapton, and he said the same thing about the beginning of his career. He's like, hey, we write these songs, and you had no idea that people are going to be singing them 50 years later, and that's all they want to hear, and, and so to be able to step back and look at it all now and really continue to make records and it's so funny because really our show has gotten a lot better for being able to step back and look at everything and sort of getting all into it. So it's, I'm currently working on a new record now, which will probably be one of our best, probably the best one yet, in terms of everything coming all together, from the songs to the playing to these great musical pieces mixed in with songs and jams. It all kind of just happened. I think we reached a high point right now.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Lickety Split, that's the name of the album, right?
Well, that's the one that came out last year, so now we're about to release another one probably.
Okay.
I would say September.
Beautiful. So can you talk to us then a bit about like what recording is like for you guys? I mean, do you just kind of get together and jam things out and go from there, or is it very structured?
Well, one thing I've learned is the best music that we make is when we kind of all just get in a room and just jam. I mean, that's just, for some reason, that's just always been natural to us. Growing up in church, things just happen. And then we kind of take a lot of these jams and we sort of like kind of, compress them, because they'll mess around and be 14, 15 minutes long, and we try to get a song. But I've learned now, a great musical piece is just a musical piece, and really to not try and sort of try to dumb anything down, because sometimes a great 12-minute song it just is what it is, So, so a lot of times in music, in this business, we try to go, no, but radio won't play that. And sometimes it's got to, hey, some things are not for radio. Some things it's just people just love long, short pieces of music, whatever it is, a great song. And so for me, it's kind of best to go into the studio and just kind of let it all go. And then we come back and listen to a lot of these ideas and then start sort of going, okay, hey, so now we can make a song out of this, and so forth. So
yeah, that's great. So you also mentioned, speaking with Eric Clapton, you've played in the Crossroads event that he has, I think, every time, and you've done some other things, shared the stage with a lot of, I guess, influential artists. What has that been like for you?
It's really been fun. It's really been cool to see how from, year after year, I'm accepted by, each year I'm accepted by a different group of, I would say, music's pioneers. I mean, in the last 2 years or so, Buddy Guy's kind of opened up, and I've played with him a lot, and we've been in the studio, we've chatted a lot, and it's just been a lot of that. It's been a lot of guitar players, a lot of musicians, and it's been, hanging with Ringo and Joe Walsh and all these guys, as well as still, hanging out with all of the younger guys, which is fun, Black Keys and Jack White and all these guys. So it's really been a good treat for me,
When you mentioned being accepted by a lot of these pioneers, and we know you released that album, The Slide Brothers, that featured, a lot of the guys that maybe people haven't known about. So is that important, do you feel to kind of get there?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's always been important for me to be able to, especially recording that album, because a lot of people would see, the Campbell Brothers, Aubrey, Jenna, Calvin Cook, and they don't really understand how close we all were growing up. I mean, I'm way younger than them, so I grew up with all of their kids, but my father, grew up, with the Campbell Brothers, and Calvin Cook grew up with my grandmother. So, but it's been always this sort of, our church organization has always been this kind of tight group, and a lot of people didn't think we all came from the same place, and it's really, we all come from sort of the same old genre, same backwood church that's not really backwoods. It's all really in the ghettos of every major city somewhere, especially here on the East Coast and the Midwest.
Well, and you mentioned the new album coming out in September. Can you give us some more details on that or what we can expect from it?
It's going to be really dirty and really funky. I don't have a name for it yet, but it's going to be really dirty. You got to get some Windex, some Ajax out, and some bleach, man, and it's going to be so dirty, man. You got to bleach everything afterwards, man.
Great. And you guys are playing with Buddy Guy coming up September 7th at the State Theater in Minneapolis. Will you be playing some of that new stuff at that show as well?
Yeah, we'll be playing some of that there, especially, what is that, September, right? Yeah, definitely by that time, and hopefully, I got into the studio and recorded a couple great musical pieces with Buddy Guy, so maybe we'll have some of that to sort of kind of be maybe some sort of bonus. I recorded a version of Going Down with him that's really awesome, and then we did these other just crazy blues jams that's kind of like, whoa, man, Even to this day, I'm like, I listen to it. I'm like, man, now that's some good music.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm always critical, but when I start listening to that, I'm like, now that's you don't hear nothing like that all the time.
Great, I can't wait. Definitely want to be at that show. It's been great having you on. Anything else you want to leave the listeners with here today?
No, I'm just looking forward to coming out there and having a great time with you guys, and hopefully everybody leaves feeling joyful and happy and everything. So I look forward to it.
Excellent.
Beautiful. Thanks a lot, Robert.
Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it.